Hello and welcome to this Neurobranch YouTube video. Following my video in regards to autism diagnosis journey, I thought it would make sense to give some of my accounts of the various reactions both before and after going for the diagnosis, because I believe this is something that may be of interest to people and understand some of the different viewpoints that I had come across. So, before I went for my diagnosis and I was exploring to see if I was autistic, I had multiple people going, oh no, you're not autistic. And some of the more specific cases were along the lines of, oh, I know an autistic person who goes to church. And when they are in church, they are having to get a jigsaw puzzle to keep them tied over. And then when they see the jigsaw pieces in place, and if one's not fitting, they'll like really bang it to put into place to fix it. And you don't do that. And I found that an interesting point of comparison in regards to, apparently that's all what autistic people do. There was also another case where an individual go, oh, you're just a bit abrupt. And I, one, hadn't realised I was abrupt, so that was interesting in itself. But two, it was, again, interesting seeing what people considered to be an autistic trait or not an autistic trait, or more specifically, what counts as autism. And admittedly, in the Oliver McGowan training, we discuss this a bit further, but understand that autism is a disability. But bear in mind that people can have autistic traits without being autistic. And the last one, I think, before I went for my diagnosis, that I think's interesting was a tutor who I'd said about, I was looking to have a diagnosis, turned around and went, oh, you're not autistic, you're just a bit blunt and to the point and very straightforward. There's nothing wrong with that. Now that I found interesting in itself, one, because again, what was perceived as an autistic trait and what isn't autism, but it was also how the individual had recognised some of the difficulty I was having and was already making adjustments. Now, unfortunately for me, not everybody was. So again, going for a diagnostic was really, really important. This also led to, not necessarily an awkward conversation with my family, but a conversation that had some emotional charge on their side, because when you look at the statistics about autism and being autistic, it can be very depressing. And so having a formal diagnosis made me very clearly going to have these difficulties. And that was a problem, particularly my mother faced. Like, I have struggled and I never asked for these struggles and I wanted help, but I couldn't get the help because I didn't have the formal diagnosis. And some of it may have been guilt on her. And I don't know why, because she did the best job she could, as did my father, as did my sister. And to be fair, my parents' time needed to be focused on my sister at the time for reasons that are not going to be disclosed here. Continuing the story, I then went for my diagnosis, and then it was interesting the responses I had after getting the formal diagnosis. I had bumped into my old support tutor who helped me through my degree, and I kind of shouted it across the park at the time because she was in a hurry, I was in a hurry, but I wanted to let her know of this information. She had turned around and she actually stopped what she was doing, then came up to me and then apologised about having to make me shout this across to her rather than speak to me face to face. And this I found kind of interesting at the time because I didn't have any issue shouting it across to her because she was in a hurry and I just needed to let her know. But from what I can tell, she came up to me to make sure if I was all right with the diagnosis itself, which was very sweet, but I couldn't perceive it at the time, and it wasn't until I explained to somebody else what had happened, they explained to me the behaviours. And she, my old support worker, had told me about how she would have regular conversations with one of my tutors, being very confused as to how come I don't have a diagnosis, and how sometimes the stress this would cause on her and the tutors, because I should have a diagnosis. But again, nobody told me. I'm also told it's not the done thing to tell somebody, oh, we think you've got a disability. In addition, I did have a formal diagnosis of my dyslexia, but at the time, the question that was asked to try and understand if I was autistic was, do you have any difficulty with communication? The Dunning-Kruger effect again creeps in here, where I went, no, I communicate fine, missing the point and also not understanding how much I was missing. So to some extent, there was a well-being benefit for them to go, oh, we were right, James is autistic. Again, slightly too late to actually get the help I needed in regards to having things worded and structured right for me, but again, she did a wonderful job in supporting me then. I then told one of my classmates who we passed after our degree had been completed. And their instant reaction was, you didn't know? I'm like, and part of me was like, oh, okay. This was hidden to me, but other people were realising, and again, nobody was telling me, because we live in a very British society where that's not the done thing. Which again, would have been really helpful to have told me to go get tested, which is what happened as discussed. And that particular individual's reaction I found interesting, because I wondered if she had changed her behaviours to try and understand my disability, or going forward, she then tried to make more reasonable adjustments because now I knew I needed additional support. Sorry, it wasn't the fact I needed additional support, I needed the support I required, I now knew how to ask for it, rather than the support they assumed I needed based on what they could observe. The last reaction I think is relevant for this conversation was with a different friend, and they basically went, this doesn't change anything, James. And that in itself I found to some extent the most comforting. What was also handy, however, was they did say, oh, if you think something needs to change or if other support needs to be in place, then please let us know. I was at that point, I went, oh, actually, if we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, I may need the additional context of the non-verbal of what's going on. At which point, we all went, oh, yes, that would make sense to do, and we all had a laugh about that. At this point, though, I'd be very interested in hearing the reactions you had to coming out, as it were, to being autistic or having autistic traits. So please like and subscribe, and I continue looking forward to making a difference with you. Thank you.